Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Ali and here I just talk to myself about books and then someone, maybe you may or may not watch this at a later date. Today I'll be going through all the books I read in May, so let's get started. So May was a pretty good reading month for me. I ended up reading 16 books. I will caveat that by saying that a couple of them were like very short essays that are bound in booklets, and one of them was a manga, but I had a few 5 stars, a lot of 4.5s, and I think my lowest rated book was 2 stars, but I still kind of enjoyed it enough that I would read another by that author. So let's get going. So first of all, I'll start with the manga. So I read the first volume of Jujutsu Kaisen by Gigi Akutami. Gigi Akutami. So I've been wanting to read this for a long time. I also want to watch the anime, but I haven't yet. But I think I will because I really enjoyed this. So this follows Yuji Itadori, who is a high school student. He's like really sporty, you know, a lot of people are trying to recruit him into different like sport clubs, but he's more interested in joining the like occult club at his school. And one evening him and his friends get hold of this cursed item, which turns out to be a finger, and it's bound by a really powerful curse. And it turns out that that curse has been split amongst the fingers of this creature. He somehow ends up, and I won't spoil exactly how, but he ends up embodying the curse, or the cursed kind of demon, and it gives him these like extra powers, and he ends up becoming part of this like secret society that are trying to take down this cursed demon. And it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I loved the art style, which I'll give you a little peek at, but yeah, I really loved the art style. I thought it was really funny. I thought the action was great, and yeah, I just love these sorts of manga, to be honest. One's like kind of full of action and stuff, so I very much enjoyed this. I will definitely be continuing it. I've got the second volume already that I need to read, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. If you've ever got any like manga recommendations, do put them down below because I'm always looking out for more to read. I find them really, really good to like break up like longer books, or if I'm in a reading slump, I find it really easy to get back into reading by reading manga, and then like graduating back up to like full blown novels. So yeah. Next, I finished off the first Horus Heresy trilogy by reading False Gods and Galaxy in Flames. So False Gods is written by Graham McNeill and Galaxy in Flames is written by Ben Counter. The first book, which is Horus Rising, was written by Dan Abnett, and I read that in April and absolutely ended up loving it, which I did not expect because this is a Warhammer, well, fiction. And I don't know, I had quite a lot of like preconceptions about what it might entail and whether I would enjoy it or not, but I actually did really end up loving this entire trilogy. So I think I will be slowly continuing in the Warhammer universe, but we'll see how I go. I do have a lot of books to read and I am a little bit on a book buying ban at the moment, but essentially what happens in this trilogy is this follows Horus, who is one of the Primarchs, who are like the sons kind of this godlike creature called the Emperor. This is set like 30,000 years after like humanity as we know it, and humans have kind of been split up across the universe and across like multiple worlds, and they've all kind of been in isolation and have all grown their own kind of societies, communities, cultures, etc. And there's this thing called the Great Crusade, which is run by the Primarchs, where they're trying to like reunite humanity under the Emperor's rule. So whilst the Emperor is very adamant that he's not a god, he does also expect to be treated like a god, and it's almost like a bit of a forced religion upon all these other facets of humanity. But this in particular follows Horus. Actually, to be fair, we follow another character called Loken, who is the leader of one of the armies within Horus's legion, who are called the Lunar Wolves, I believe. And we predominantly follow him, and then towards the end of the first book we start to focus more onto like Horus's POV, and then in these 2 books it's kind of more about how Horus changes his mind about the emperor and essentially, well, leads to a heresy. Becomes a heretic. He decides he doesn't want to follow the emperor anymore, and therefore he like is branded a traitor, etc. And yeah, that's kind of where the story develops. So this is set 10,000 years before Warhammer 40k, which is like the more popular like gaming universe bit, and it kind of explains how it gets to the point where then it's in 40k already, there are heretics everywhere, etc, etc. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's grimdark fantasy, so it is like quite dark, quite violent, quite, well, grim, and it is very graphic in terms of like the violence and, you know, blood, gore, etc. But I didn't care about that. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I would very much continue on with this series, and well, I say series, the rest of this world. But there are like hundreds and hundreds of books, so I'm gonna have to be quite selective with the ones I want to read. But I believe there's like a whole map online on Reddit that you can like follow, and it just shows you like the different like legions that you can go into and read more about. So I might look up that and see which one is best to read next. But I think I gave both of these like 4.5 stars. So actually, I might have given False Gods 4 stars and Galaxy in Flames 4.5 stars, but I really liked them. Next, I read The Illyrian Code by B.F. Peterson. This is a book that was gifted to me by Angry Robot, and I'm very grateful because it's the first bit of, I guess, PR or like directly from a publisher that I've ever gotten, and I'm super happy that I got to do this. I also love this book, like the edition is so stunning, and I think this is actually the final copy because I don't know, it's too pretty to just be an ARC. But anyway, so this follows 4 different students who end up going to a university called the Eshtam University, which is where people train to become part of the Order of Adre. It's a very kind of like cutthroat type academy. You know, people get cut from the program all the time. You've got loads of intense lessons. You've got to do things like physical training, there's like mind training, political, geographical, all that. And we follow kind of 4 main students. So we've got Christina, who's the first Norani royal to attend the university in over 100 years. We've got Jenny, who is a common born student and hates like the royalties and nobles, and also has this like weird memory loss where she doesn't really know anything prior to like the day that she wakes up to go to the university, but doesn't seem too bothered about it. We then have Jaden, who is like a privileged and kind of reckless prince who's trying to kind of get away from under like the rule of his father and kind of pave his own way, but also is very like privileged and knows it, and definitely like abuses that and is sometimes a little bit ignorant about how other people might have to like get to the same level that he has. And then we have Dyer, who is this like super nice guy who is just kind of torn between the 3 of them. You know, he wants to be friends with all of them, and he has this power that is quite rare and ends up saving his life on an occasion. But yes, so I kind of follow those 4 students. It's very political in nature. I would say this is kind of like more YA, especially in terms of the dialogue, but the world building itself was really interesting. The magic system's really interesting. I do want to find out more about it because I feel like we only just scratched the surface and I need to know more than what is available in this book. I felt like the politics and stuff were really good, and I think the pacing was a little bit off here and there, so I felt like it started off quite well, then it was like a little bit dippy in the middle, and then towards the end it kind of picked up again and was really good. So overall I think I gave this like a 3-star, which is not bad by any means. It's still, you know, to me 3 stars is a pretty good rating. I would definitely continue on with this series. I will be looking out for the sequel, but yes, I quite enjoyed it. I think the thing that maybe wasn't 100% for me, as I said, was the pacing was a little bit off here and there, but also some of the dialogue, which to be fair I did find quite funny in places, was just quite young for me, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And as I said, the world building, the politics and things like that were quite good. This is marketed as like a Fourth Wing meets Atlas 6 combo, and I would agree that it does kind of reminisce Atlas 6 a little bit in terms of like the you know, the competition, etc., to become part of the academy, but not quite as dark maybe. And again, it reminds of Fourth Wing in that it is like you know, a military style academy. There are dragons, although you never really see them in this book because we are following first years and they aren't allowed to see the dragons, so there's kind of still like this mystery that they're there, but you never really see them as part of the story yet. But I think that's by design rather than like there's dragons but they're not really there. However, there is no like romance or spice really, and if that's a reason that you enjoyed Fourth Wing, then probably this isn't the book for you. But I did enjoy it, I would recommend it, and I will definitely be continuing on with the series. And thank you so much again, Angry Robot and BF Peterson, for gifting me this copy. I very much enjoyed reading it. Okay, next I read not 1, not 2, but 5 books by Suzanne Collins. I don't have the 5th one because I did read it on my Kindle because I don't have, well, this edition of it isn't out yet. But I basically reread the entire Hunger Games trilogy. So we have The Hunger Games, Catching Fire and Mockingjay. I then also read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping. So I mean, I feel like everyone knows what Hunger Games is by now, but I just had forgotten how good this series actually is. So I think I last read it about 10 years ago. I feel like it was a long time ago. And obviously I was in a different stage of my life. I was a lot younger and maybe like, I don't know, just took something different from it. But this time I just really enjoyed it. I mean, I really enjoyed it last time as well, but I enjoyed it so much more as well because I felt like there was just all these other elements that I had either forgotten about or not really understood when I read it the first few times, because I have read it a couple of times I think before. But I mean, if you don't know what Hunger Games is about, it's a dystopian YA fiction set in a world that's kind of meant to be like a dystopian USA, where there is this like central hub which is the city called Panem, and then the kind of surrounding areas are called districts, and you've got like District 1, District 2, all the way to District 12. There used to be 13 districts, but one of the districts was destroyed during like a rebellion or civil war, whatever you want to call it. And each district is like tasked with producing something for the capital, the big city of Panem, and they take advantage of like all the other districts and keep them very suppressed. You know, they're really like hungry and things like that. For their own benefits whilst they kind of live it up in the capital. As part of this world as well, and as part of like a punishment for that rebellion that happened so many years before that people don't even remember it, there is a yearly event called the Hunger Games, which is when a candidate or a not even a volunteer, a tribute from each district is selected every year. So one male, one female, to compete in the Hunger Games, where it's literally a fight to the death. Only one will survive, and then they are crowned like the champion tribute of that district for that year. And it's just very brutal, and again, it's all for the pleasure and entertainment of the capital. They make bets on it and things like that. So in this particular series we follow Katniss, who is picked out to be, actually no, she's not, her sister Primrose is picked out to be the tribute, and Katniss volunteers herself because Primrose is a lot younger, volunteers herself to be tribute for District 12, and she ends up going into the Hunger Games with Peter, who is the baker's son. So whereas Katniss kind of lives on the outskirts in kind of like the more like poorer, like on the edge society, Peter's like a baker's son, supposedly kind of like the more I guess elite within District 12. We kind of follow them too as like the main characters. There's a load of other side characters. The series goes on, you meet a lot more characters that you fall in love with, and then there's a lot of heartbreak. There is a lot of rebellion and civil wars, and you know, dismantling of this horrible social structure that is kind of like condemning people to death for like things that happened a million years ago, and also making them like so oppressed that they don't even have food to eat. So that's kind of what this entire series is about, like the dismantling of the people in power in this society to then take back the world for themselves. But I had just forgotten how good it is. Like, the world building in this is insane. The character work is really good. I do find Katniss quite annoying, but to be honest, I feel like she grows on me. But she is just very like teenage. I don't know how else to describe it. She's just mean to Peter sometimes, and I love Peter. He's like my favorite character, and Haymitch as well, but we'll come on to him. So yes, but I really enjoyed the series. I absolutely flew through it. Like, I couldn't put it down. And I mean, I read 5 books back to back, a testament to how good the writing for this is and how much I enjoyed the world in general. I think I gave all of these like 4.5 stars. Then we had The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So this is set a number of years prior to the Hunger Games. This actually follows the president of the Capitol, who is President Snow, when he was young. So I think in here he's like early 20s. He is part of this kind of like elite academy. His family's fallen on like hard times, as hard times as like they can get in the capital, but basically there's a lot of debts, etc. His family's about to lose their house, blah blah blah. And for the first time they've decided to allow each tribute to have like a mentor, and the mentors have been picked from this academy, and he is assigned the girl tribute from District 12, who ends up being Lucy Gray. Lucy Gray is a part of this kind of like nomadic society of like musicians who ended up in District 12 but aren't really from District 12, but she is chosen as a tribute anyway, as kind of revenge from the mayor's daughter or something. But essentially we kind of follow the story of Snow and how maybe he's come to develop some of the feelings that he has in the Hunger Games about like District 12 and just about like women in general as well. But I hated him as a character in Hunger Games, and this book did nothing to make me hate him less. It did give him a lot more depth, I will give you that, and it did a really good job at doing that. However, I still really hate him. I don't like him as a character at all. I didn't really enjoy the relationship between him and Lucy Gray. Like, it didn't feel real to me. I didn't have any investment in it, and I don't know whether that was because I hate the character so much or if it was more because it was just very like not well developed. But I think this is like my least favorite of the whole like Hunger Games franchise. I think I gave this one 4 stars because it is still good and it does a lot to kind of set up some of the back stuff, like the background context that then is somewhat mentioned in the Hunger Games about like some of the rebellions and things like that. And also you see a lot of characters in this one that you then meet in the Hunger Games later on that are part of the Capitol. But I don't know, I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other one, and I think predominantly it will be because I didn't really like the characters as much, but still a really good one worth reading. And then, as I said, I don't have a copy because I'm waiting to get a matching copy, but I did read Sunrise on the Reaping, which is Haymitch's book. For those of you who don't know, Haymitch is the mentor for Katniss and Peter in the Hunger Games. He is the only District 12 winner prior to this, and his story is kind of somewhat mentioned a little bit in Hunger Games, but this essentially goes through his entire experience within the Hunger Games and like a lot of the heartbreak he went through. And this is by far my favorite Hunger Games book. I give it 5 stars. I sobbed, like I could not put it down. It's honestly, I love it, and I cannot wait to have the matching copy, although I have been really tempted to get like the special editions from Waterstones, like as in the hardback special edition for that one, but I need it to match. But yeah, essentially what we do is we follow Haymitch on the day that he is selected to be a tribute for District 12 on his birthday, because his birthday is the day of the reaping, which is very sad. We get to meet kind of his family, and then we again meet some of the characters that end up in the Hunger Games later on. I thought this book was brilliant. Like, it gave Haymitch so much more depth and context, and you just really understood him so much better as a character. It just made me love him even more. You understand why he is the way he is in Hunger Games, and I just can't fault him for it. Like, it's just, he went through so much rubbish. Like, honestly, I don't want to spoil it, but it was just the most heartbreaking book I've read in the Hunger Games franchise, and to be fair, that I've read in a while. Like, I just, my heart wasn't ready, and I don't know if I've recovered, but yeah, so I absolutely loved Sunrise on the Reaping, and I would very much highly recommend it if you haven't read it yet. I made a conscious effort to make sure that I could read it as soon as it was kind of out, because I didn't want to get any spoilers, even though I did know low-key what like the story would be about, because as I said, it is mentioned in the Hunger Games, but I don't know, it just made it all the more special. But yeah, highly recommend. And then, because I was in my dystopian era, I read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. I already had this copy, but it did end up getting picked for the Waterstones book club that I am a part of as well. We were meant to discuss this last night actually, but it ended up being cancelled, the session. However, I believe we're going to be discussing it next month alongside the book we're also reading for next month. I loved this. It was so good. It's a very short book, you know, it's less than 200 pages, I think. Yeah, 187 pages, and it's very, how do I put it, it's not like super descriptive in terms of like characters or world building, but I still really loved it. It's almost like a bit lyrical and poetic, but it's again a dystopian novel set in what, I don't know what world we're on. I don't think they know what world they're on. There's a lot of theories in here. We predominantly follow this young girl who was a child when like this apocalyptic style event happened, and people got split off into these bunkers, and in her bunker there are 39 women and her, which make 40 people, and the only men she has ever seen but not interacted with are the guards. One day something happens and all the guards disappear, and by some miracle they managed to escape the bunker, and essentially they just travel this world that they don't know what it is, this very vast expanse of land that's very kind of bare or wooded, and they don't come across any other people at the beginning, and yeah, it's just kind of like that journey. Also, this character that we're following, she doesn't know anything about anything really, because as I said, she was a very young child when everything happened, so the only thing she's ever known is the bunker, and the only like interactions and like cultures and stuff that she's learned are from bunker life. She doesn't know anything about like affection, etc., because she never received any. You know, the guards wouldn't let them like touch each other or like hug or anything like that, even when she was a child and was like very upset. She just doesn't know anything, so it's really interesting to see everything through her eyes as a character. And as I said, the writing style is just really interesting. It's very like, is it dark? I don't know that it's dark, but it's very, as I said, a bit poetic, a bit lyrical, but also at the same time like a bit depressive. It's not very like descriptive, it's not very like colourful in terms of language, but it just really works for this book. I just loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this 4.5 stars, or maybe even 5 stars, I can't remember, but I am very much looking forward to seeing if this author has any other books. So this is a translated fiction from French, I believe, and I don't know if this author has any other books, but I might look into it because I did really like the writing style. I am also going to look more into some other like dystopian fictions, because I feel like I am, as I said, in my dystopian era, and I want to read more dystopian based fiction. So again, if you've got any recommendations, please do pop them below, because I'm very much enjoying it right now, which is a bit like weird to say because we are in the middle, or supposedly in the middle of summer, or get into summer, and maybe I should just be like wanting to read cutesy like summer books, but I'm like, no, dystopian, grimdark, let's go. I do have one really high on my list, which is to continue on with the Parable of the Sower duology, so reading Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. That is very high on my list to read, and that is also kind of a dystopian zombie-ish type thing. Kind of, I can't remember if it does have actual zombies in it, but it gives that sort of vibe. So yeah, very much enjoyed this as well. Next, I read the 2 little booklets that I mentioned earlier that aren't really books, but they're kind of like bound essays, and those are by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, obviously, because she's one of my favourite authors ever in this entire universe. I have now officially read everything she has ever published, and I love it. So these are 2 very short essays. They're both about kind of like feminism. One is an essay about just feminism in general and the experience predominantly of Nigerian women, and it's based on like a TED talk that she did. And then this one, again, similar, based on like her experiences as a Nigerian woman, but it's phrased as a letter to her best friend who's just had a baby daughter, and kind of like what her friend like asked her, what should I teach my daughter, essentially, and that's kind of what this book is. I love Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's writing. I mean, there's nothing in here that is new to me in terms of like concepts or opinions or ideas. It's all stuff that I agree with. It's all stuff that, as I said, you know, I've tried to champion in my life and things like that, but it was just really interesting to read it as well, and the way that she phrases it is so eloquent that I just love it. So I have recently read her newest novel, which is Dream Count. I really enjoyed that as well. So I'm always on the lookout for anything by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and if she ever comes back to the UK, I'm going to try and snag up a ticket to go meet her, because I need to get all my books signed and just meet her because she's awesome, and also just listen to her talk because, again, she's great, and she has done some TED Talks if you do want to have a listen to her work, and lots of interviews as well. They're really interesting. But yeah, so these are books. Kind of books, very short books. Next, I finally read a sequel that I have been putting off. I don't know why, I've just kind of not been reading it for a long time, and I don't know why, because I ended up absolutely loving it, and that was He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. This is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun, which I read, well, feels like a million years ago now, really enjoyed, and then I don't know what happened. I just didn't read this when it came out, but this is a reimagining of the rise of the Ming dynasty to power, and more specifically of the Emperor Zhu. So in the first book, I won't talk about a lot about what this book is about because it is a spoiler, but in the first book we meet this young girl called Zhu. She is very poor, lives with her family on kind of like the outskirts of this small village, and one day these rebels come and essentially murder her entire family. Now, she was kind of like a bit ostracized within her family as well, because she was given a prophecy by someone when she was a kid to say that basically she wouldn't like amount to anything in her life. So her whole life was kind of just building up to being married to the best level person that she could be married to. However, when this happens, she decides to make her own destiny and takes on the identity of her brother, who had a prophecy that he would amount to greatness. So she essentially uses that to be able to become part of a monastery and become a monk, because you're unable to become a monk if you are a woman. So she pretends to be her brother, pretends to be a boy, etc., and eventually like rises through the ranks of the monastery and becomes like a rebel leader with like everything that's going on in China at the time. This book as well was just brilliant. You meet a lot of characters in the first one as well. There's a lot of depth of character, etc. There is in particular a character of a eunuch that I don't remember the name of right now. Ouyang, I think, who is an enemy, but in this one kind of the relationship between them changes a little bit because of the situation changes, and I just thought this was very good as well. Like, I couldn't put it down. I literally was so invested in this that I ended up like listening to chapters when I was like out walking the dog as well. So I didn't, you know, when I couldn't physically read it, I was like listening to it so I wouldn't have to like stop. But I really liked this. I love the writing style. I don't know if Shelley Parker Chan has done anything else, but I need to check it out because I do enjoy this. And just the story itself was really interesting. It's like a very light magic system within this. You know, it's not like outworld magic, you know, fantasy as in, you know, I'm going to be throwing out flames, there's wands or things like that, but there is an element of magic and there is an element of fantasy within this, but it's very subtle and it just works really well. The whole like politics of it, great, like it's just perfect. The pacing is great, the character development, again, brilliant. It is, would I consider this grimdark? I probably would. Like, it's very dark, it's very kind of gruesome in part, it's very realistic, you know. It is a wartime type novel and not necessarily a happy ending type novel, but It's really interesting and I really liked it. I don't know if I'm doing it justice isn't how I'm explaining it, but I very much enjoyed this, and I'm glad I finally finished this duology, because I don't know what took me so long. I don't know what I was waiting for. But yeah, again, great book. I think I might have given this 5 stars actually. And it very much was well deserved. And then again, I don't have the book anymore because my friend had lent it to me and I have given it back to her. But I did read Mouse by R.T. Spiegelman, who is like a comic book artist, and decided to write his father's experience with the Holocaust in the form of, in Poland, in the form of a comic book where the Jewish people are mice and the Nazis are cats. And I think this is like one of those like classic like comics that everyone has read at some point. I've been meaning to read it for a number of years, and my friend was like, it's really good, just read it, here, lent it to me, and I didn't read it for a few months actually, and eventually I was like, right, I really need to give this back. So I ended up reading it, really enjoyed it. I was a little bit like unsure about the comic book, like the actual art style at first, but it did work really well for that book. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. Like, it's obviously a dark topic, it's not like, you know, a happy book, and as I said, I loved it, I enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy a book about that sort of thing. But yeah, I did like it and it was worth reading, I think. And last but not least, nobody hate me, please, no one hate me, but this was my lowest rated book of the month. I gave it 2 stars, and that was Flawless by Elsie Silver. Whilst I have been in a dystopian and kind of grimdark mood, I have also, because it is summer, been really wanting to get more into like some romance, and I've tried a few different ones. You know, I've tried like the hockey style romance stuff, I don't think that's for me. I have tried cowboy romance before and I thought it was okay-ish, but everyone's been ranting and raving about this. I've had like personal recommendations for this series. It is literally everywhere, and I was like, okay, let me give it a go. Okay, I didn't hate it, I will say that. Like, I thought it was okay, I enjoyed it, it was fine. Like, I will read the rest of it, mainly because I've already bought books 2 and 3, so I will continue reading it, but I don't know, I felt like some of it was a bit cringe. I really didn't like the relationship between the main girl character and her dad. I felt like that was just like really, I don't know, some bits of it were just quite gross. I felt like he was really invested in her sex life, and I don't know why, but like was quite crude about it. And I don't know, maybe people have those sorts of relationships with their parents. I very much don't and do not wish to, but yeah, I don't know, some of that was gross. But also, I think the thing that put me off the most was that her dad and the main love interest give her the same nickname. Like, girl, if the guy you're wanting to like bang starts calling you the same nickname that your dad's called you since you were a kid, walk away. Just walk away. Like, ew. Just no, not for me. So this follows oh god, I can't even remember his name. But this is kind of like a forbidden, is it forbidden romance kind of a trope, because there is this bull rider who is whose agent is the father of the girl who ends up being tasked with like essentially babysitting him kind of thing, when there's like this whole media situation going on because he punched like a reporter or something. I honestly can't remember the names. So Summer is the girl, and is it Nate? I feel like he would have that sort of name. Rhett. Okay, close enough. So Rhett is this professional bull rider who, as I said, ended up having like a bad media time because he punched a reporter. So like, you know, he's very kind of like in a media storm right now. And to do a bit of damage control, his agent, who is Summer's dad, decides to let Summer kind of do a bit of media damage control by making sure that he doesn't get into any more trouble. And you know, the only thing he tells Rhett to do is to keep his hands off his daughter, and of course he doesn't, and here we are. Like, the spy scenes were okay, nothing like special, but yeah, they were fine. You know, The actual like bull riding stuff was pretty good. Like I thought that was quite interesting. I just didn't enjoy the dynamic between Summer and her dad, and then like the whole princess thing. Did not like that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm willing to try the other two books again because I've already bought them. But I don't know. I'm getting really frustrated now because I feel like I do like romance books. There are some that I've really, really enjoyed. So there are some Ali Hazelwood ones that I've enjoyed, and I have bought another 2 of her books because I'm like, I need to, you know, read some romance. Abby Jimenez has been good. I want to do a bit more Emily Henry, and obviously my absolute favourite romance writer, which is B.K. Borison. And I don't know how I can enjoy those so much. And then some of these other ones I just really don't. And I think the main thing for me is I do have to feel like there is somewhat of a build up to this romance, like a little. It doesn't have to be like, you know, 5 books long slow burn, but don't come at me after like 2 days of meeting and being like insta love. Now this one doesn't really have that because they are together for like months before like things really kick off, but I don't know. It was okay. It was okay, but it is definitely my lowest rated book of the month. Okay, so those were all the books that I read in the month of May. As I said, there were predominantly like very, very good reads. Like most of them were 4, 4.5 or 5-star reads. Bar for the one I've already mentioned, which again wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't good. And maybe it's because I read such good books that in comparison I was just like, oh, meh. And that's why I'm willing to give the author the benefit of the doubt that maybe it was just me on this occasion, and I will try some of the other books. But yes, if you do have any further recommendations, especially like romance books, please do pop them down below. I don't mind spice or anything like that, that's absolutely fine. Equally, I'm happy to read books with no spice, I don't care. I think predominantly though, I would prefer if it's like adult characters rather than like teenagers or like very young adults. Anyway, we digress. So very, very good reading month. I am very much looking forward to all the books that I have to read in June as well, that I've already started reading. I've completed a series already, and I do have a few other books that I picked out with the wheel that you might see. I've already posted that video. Yeah, hopefully it's an equally good month. But yes, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do pop a like, and if you would like to see more, please do subscribe, and as always, pop any suggestions in the comments down below. See you soon. Bye.